Father Thomas Brennan sat in a worn armchair by the hospice window, his gaunt face bathed in the pale light of dusk. The rosary beads slipped slowly through his fingers as he stared out into the courtyard below. For weeks, he had been preparing for this moment, the confession that would change everything. His frail body, ravaged by cancer, was a whisper of its former self, but the weight on his soul was heavier than ever. The door creaked open, and Detective Sarah Hughes stepped inside. She paused, watching the priest, then cleared her throat. "Father Brennan," she said, her voice flat. "I'm Detective Hughes. You asked for me." Brennan didn't turn. "It's been a long time since anyone called me Father." His voice was soft, laced with the fatigue of a man nearing the end. Sarah remained standing. She didn't trust the man, not yet. He had requested her personally, though she had no idea why. "I hear you have something to confess," she said, flipping open her notepad, her pen poised. Brennan slowly turned to face her, his eyes cloudy but sharp enough to meet hers. "I'm dying, Detective, and before I leave this world, I need to unburden my soul. I've carried this weight for too long." Sarah said nothing, her jaw tightening. She had seen her share of deathbed confessions, mostly meaningless or self-serving. But something about Brennan's calm demeanor unnerved her. "I'm the man you've been searching for all these years," he continued. "The man who killed those women. I'm responsible." Sarah's pen froze in midair. Her heart quickened, but she forced herself to stay composed. "Which women?" she asked, keeping her tone neutral. "The unsolved murders, the ones from the late 90s, and one more, your sister." The last words landed like a punch to the gut. Sarah's face hardened, the blood rushing to her ears. For years, her sister Emily's brutal murder had remained an open wound in her life. A crime unsolved, an ache unresolved. She had buried the pain deep, but now it surfaced in an instant, raw and furious. "That's a heavy accusation to make," she said through clenched teeth. "You better have proof." Brennan leaned back, closing his eyes as if gathering the strength to continue. Emily wasn't random. None of them were. It was planned. A sick plan, I admit. But I was involved. Sarah's mind reeled. If he was lying, he was a cruel man. If he was telling the truth. She took a step closer, her voice cold. "Why? Why confess now?" He opened his eyes, meeting hers with a tired gaze. "I'm dying, Detective. It's time to make peace with God and with you." Sarah felt the sting of tears behind her eyes, but she wouldn't allow them to fall. She wouldn't give him that satisfaction. Instead, she sat down across from him, forcing herself to breathe slowly. "You were a priest," she said. "You heard confessions, didn't you? Did someone else confess these murders to you? Is that what this is?" Brennan shook his head. "No. This is my own confession. I was involved. I helped cover them up, helped the man who did it. But I didn't stop him. I was complicit." Sarah's hands trembled. "Who was it? Who was the killer?" Brennan closed his eyes again, his lips pressing into a thin line. "He's gone now, Detective. Dead. I can't give you his name, but what I can give you is the truth of my role." The silence stretched between them, thick with unresolved tension. Sarah's mind raced. The years of chasing shadows, the sleepless nights, the broken prayers. Had it all led her here, to this dying man with half-truths? "Why didn't you stop him?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was weak," Brennan said, his voice cracking. I thought I could save him. But I was wrong. I was a coward." Sarah leaned forward, her nails digging into her palm. "And what about my sister? What did she have to do with it?" Brennan hesitated. She wasn't like the others. She wasn't part of his plan. He saw something in her, something that threatened him. I tried to intervene, but by the time I realized, it was too late. Sarah stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. The urge to scream, to lash out, surged through her, but she forced it down. This wasn't about vengeance. It was about closure. "Why should I believe you?" she asked, her voice trembling. "You could be making this all up, trying to absolve yourself before you die." Brennan sighed, the weight of years pressing down on him. "I don't ask for your forgiveness, detective. Only for you to listen." Sarah stared at him, her emotions a storm beneath the surface. Part of her wanted to walk out, to leave this man with his dying guilt. But another part, the part that still clung to the memory of her sister, needed answers. "Fine," she said, "but don't think for a second this absolves you.